Welcome back to Offsides, BUTV10's only professional sports talk show. I'm Haley Alvarez-Lauto.
And I'm Allison DeWitt. To kick things off, Seth Helman and Bruni will discuss the upcoming MLB season.
Then host Alexa Podalsky will speak with analysts Mason Jablonsky and James McIntyre as they preview the NBA playoffs.
And finally, Seth will return to share his thoughts on the Masters.
All this and more, Offsides starts right now.
Welcome to the 2023 Offsides MLB season preview. I'm Seth Helman alongside Bruni, and today we'll be giving our predictions for the National League and American League. Raph, let's start with the National League champions. Who's your pick?
My prediction for this season's National League champions are the San Diego Padres. The Padres had a very impressive season last year by making it all the way to the NLCS, and they're going to be even better this season. While Tatis is going to miss the first 21 games of the season due to a suspension for using PEDs, he is going to bring star power to this team once he gets back. Also, getting Xander Bogaerts from the Red Sox will prove to be a valuable addition. Manny Machado and Juan Soto are stars that add a lot offensively. In Soto's first full season with the Padres, I think he'll find his rhythm and go back to playing like the stellar Soto that we saw play on the Nationals. The Padres have the strong pitching that is absolutely vital in the postseason. The Padres have aces like Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, and Joe Musgrove. I truly feel like the Padres are the real deal. Seth, how about in the AL?
Well, in the AL, I'm going with the Seattle Mariners. It's a bit of a dark horse pick, but they are led by former Rookie of the Year, Julio Rodriguez, who had a .284 average with 28 home runs last year. He's a really solid talent, and I think that he's going to be able to get close to the 40 home run mark this year. They also brought in Teoscar Hernandez, who had a down year in 2022, but he's a 30 home run guy, and they needed the outfield help. In order to shore up the middle infield, they brought in Colton Wong, who's really solid up the middle. He had 17 errors last year, but he's a good veteran presence, and his home runs have been up in recent years. They've got top 8 pitching from last year, and if they can bring that even further up the MLB order, they could be really dangerous. What's your prediction for the National League's most surprising team?
My prediction for this season's surprising team are the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs have had a big offseason, signing names such as Cody Bellinger, Trey Mancini, and Dansby Swanson. The Cubs are playing in a rather weak NL Central, where only the Brewers and Cardinals are competitive. Meanwhile, the Pirates and Reds, sorry to say, are rather bad. The Cubs could sneak in as a wildcard team. I think the San Francisco Giants might be the most improved team in the National League. They bolstered their outfield by adding Michael Conforto and Mitch Haniger. They also bolstered their pitching rotation by signing Ross Stripling and Sean Manaea. Even though the Giants didn't play in the postseason last year, I think that the Cubs making it would be a bigger surprise, which is why I picked them. Seth, who do you think will surprise us in the AL?
Well, in the AL, it's another odd pick, but I'm going with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Yankees' rotation is in shambles entering the year between injuries and losing players in the offseason, and I think this is the perfect opportunity for the Blue Jays to sneak in and maybe even win the division. Jose Barrios is an excellent player. In this spring, he had a 2.7 ERA, 9 strikeouts, and 10 innings pitched. They brought in Chris Bassett from the Mets in free agency, who had a 3.42 ERA in 2022. He's a bit of a streaky starter, but he's good for the back end of that rotation, and he was one of the Mets' better starters last year, especially when they were hampered with injuries of their own. Alek Manoah is a stud at the top of the rotation with a 2.24 ERA last year, and I think he's going to be even better this year. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Vlad Guerrero Jr. He took a step back in 2022, but with 161 games played in 2021 and 160 games played in 2022, he's shown consistency and an ability to stay on the field for an entire season. If he's able to do that again this year, he's going to put up massive numbers. Now, the pick that we're all waiting to hear, what is your prediction for this year's World Series?
My prediction for the World Series is Blue Jays Padres. After the embarrassing playoff exit to the Mariners last postseason, where they were swept in the wildcard round, some people might be surprised by my choice. But I feel like this young Blue Jays team will have matured and grown from that loss, and they will be back hungrier this season. I predict Vladdy Guerrero Jr. to be as dominant as ever, and he will be an MVP candidate. I was very optimistic about their pitcher, Alek Manoah, especially after he was an all-star last season. The star power of Tatis Jr. versus Guerrero Jr. in the World Series will have viewers glued to their TV screens. In the end, though, I feel like the Padres' dominant pitching staff will be too much for the Blue Jays to handle. I predict the Padres winning the series 4-2. Seth, I want to hear your prediction.
Well, Raph, I'm sticking with my theme today and picking another team that people might not necessarily be thinking of, and I'm taking the New York Mets. That's right, Flushing is getting a ring this year. They obviously lose Jacob deGrom in the offseason, who's arguably the best pitcher in the MLB, but you can't be the best pitcher in the MLB if you don't actually step foot on the field. Just not really how that works, right? They're bringing Kodai Senga, who had a bit of a tough spring with a 4 ERA, but he did have 10 strikeouts in 9 innings pitched, and he's got really good stuff, including the ghost fork, which is making hitters look silly this year. He picked up a win in his first start and looked solid, and I expect a lot of wins from him this year. They also bring in Justin Verlander, who had 28 starts last year in his first full year back from his Tommy John surgery, and in his last 3 full seasons, he's won 2 Cy Young Awards and finished second place in one of those years. So he's been absolutely outstanding, and people might be a little bit concerned, but the 28 starts from last year, I think, proves that he's good with his injury. They also had addition by subtraction in letting catcher James McCann leave in the offseason. The position players are virtually the same for the Mets. Bringing in Tommy Pham was really the only notable addition to this team, and obviously you lose Edwin Diaz to injury in the World Baseball Classic when he was celebrating, but it's a knee injury, right? And as much as your legs are super important when you're pitching, I'd be more worried if it was an arm injury, and because of that, I think he's going to be super fresh come September when he's projected to be healthy enough to pitch again, which means he's going to be crazy fresh for the postseason, and nobody is going to be able to hit him. That's all the time we have for the 2023 Offsides MLB season preview. Alexa, over to you.
The NBA playoffs are around the corner, which means it's time to talk about our predictions. I'm Alexa Podalsky, here with James McIntyre and Mason Jablonsky. James, which team do you think has the biggest chance to play in the playoffs?
I think a team that has a chance to make the playoffs and potentially win a series has to be my hometown Chicago Bulls. Since slotting in Patrick Beverley to help fill in the poor guard play for Chicago, the team caught fire, including beating the Lakers in LeBron's return. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine have been an unstoppable duo, with LaVine averaging 26 points over 5-game stints, and DeRozan having double-digit assist games to fill in for their lack of playmaking. The team shoots extremely well from the field, including a top 10 mark in three-point percentage. They sit at the number 10 seed right now. And with the offensive weaponry they have and their positive stretch, I feel like this is a team that could upset the Hawks or Heat for a spot in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, definitely, James. With Pat Bev on the roster, the Bulls will be a pesky team in the East. Over in the West, I predict the Los Angeles Lakers will secure a playoff spot through the play-in tournament. I've been low on the Lakers all season, but give credit to Rob Pelinka for retooling this team at the deadline and granting them a better chance to compete in the postseason. D'Angelo Russell is looking like the Russell these Lakers needed all along, while Jared Vanderbilt and Rui Hachimura are solid frontcourt players who have helped renew the Lake Show. If LeBron James and Anthony Davis are healthy, the Lakers will grab a playoff spot and might even give a higher seed some trouble, especially with Denver's defense or Memphis's lack of poison experience in question.
Play-ins always seem to shock last minute, so it will be interesting to see which teams will make the cut. Now, to give credit to individual players, James, who should viewers watch during the postseason?
I think when it comes to players to watch for in the playoffs, you have to look at MVP frontrunner Nikola Jokic. Jokic, who is making a run to win his 3rd MVP in 3 seasons, enters the playoffs in a familiar state. His team holds a top seed, but it all comes down to the narrative. Despite being named MVP twice, Jokic has only reached the Western Conference Finals once in the past 4 years. His play passes every statistical test. In fact, his post-up play this season is the most efficient offensive play within the past 10 years. He has a healthy and talented core around him, but does he have the potential to elevate a team to win the title? When it comes to the NBA playoffs, keep your eyes on one of the centers redefining the position.
Yeah, he will definitely be a difference maker for his team, James. But looking at my hometown Suns, my player to watch this postseason is Kevin Durant. By trading for Durant, the Suns dealt away a young wing destined for the All-Star nod in Mikal Bridges, as well as another gifted scorer in Cam Johnson. Now it's time for KD to prove the trade was worth every penny. With his efficient scoring and playmaking, Durant has a great chance to shine out west once again and lead the Suns back to the finals. And if Durant is able to deliver a championship in Phoenix, I think he will instantly become one of the greatest players to ever wear a Suns uniform.
It'll be exciting to see how these players help their team throughout the playoffs. Now to bring it home, which team do you think is going to come out of the Eastern Conference?
My pick for the East has to be Philadelphia. Something about the city of brotherly love has produced championship appearances for the Eagles, Phillies, and now I think the 76ers are next. Shooting nearly 40% from beyond the arc, the 76ers lead the league in three-point percentage, giving them the potential to get hot on any night. Their coach Doc Rivers has plenty of playoff experience and has led the team to multiple 45-plus win seasons. But the recipe for success lays in their talent. After taking time to find his fit with the team last season, James Harden has improved his field goal percentage, three-point percentage, points per game, and assists per game to prove his worth as the co-star to Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey has also continued to improve, averaging 21 points per game, shooting 42.7% from three, and flourishing in his role, whether it's filling in for the starting lineup or leading the bench. Oh, and they also have the potential MVP Joel Embiid running rampant on both ends of the court.
Well, my pick to come out of the East is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are catching fire right on time for the playoffs. Milwaukee went 21-5 through January and February. They jumped the Celtics for the first seed, and they haven't looked back. The bottom line is, as long as the Greek Freak is wearing a Bucks uniform, it's hard to bet against them in any playoff series. Giannis Antetokounmpo makes it look easy with his ferocious dominance down low, and there's a reason his name is always mentioned in MVP conversations. Plus, Brook Lopez is the front-runner for Defensive Player of the Year honors. His elite rim protection spearheads the top defensive team in the entire association. If the Bucks are healthy, they will be the team to beat in the East.
While these teams are really good, we can't count out the Celtics from the East. Despite falling to second in the standings, they have been dominant for most of the season. Now, how about the West?
I'm taking the Phoenix Suns to claim the Western Conference title. The Nuggets were my early season pick to reach the NBA Finals, but that was before the Suns acquired one of the greatest basketball players of all time at the trade deadline. Now, it's a completely different ballgame in the Valley. Kevin Durant is one of the most efficient scorers ever, and though he's only appeared in a handful of regular season games for the Suns due to an ankle injury, he has seemed to immediately slot in seamlessly with this squad. Though it probably won't be the hardest road, I expect Durant and the Suns to go on a hot streak en route back to the finals.
I can't disagree. The Suns have all the talent in the world, but the West is a whole lot less clear to me. The defending champions may be a play-in team. The Kings just broke the longest playoff drought in sports. Kyrie and Luka can't win a game. This season of unpredictable madness in the West leads me to pick the team that I think has the strongest drive for a title. Sacramento almost comically has very little playoff experience, but I have no reason to doubt they will bring their regular season success to the postseason. De'Aaron Fox is scoring 25 points per game, matching his career high, but has improved his rebounds and assists from the previous season. Sabonis has provided the big man play that Marvin Bagley never could, dominating the paint and leading the team in assists. After sitting in limbo for so long, the Kings have found an identity as the leading scorers in the NBA. I have 3 words for you. Light the beam.
My vote is for the Denver Nuggets. They definitely have a big chance of making it all the way as the #1 team in the West. Now, who do you guys have winning the championship?
Well, I'm just going to say it. I'm going all in on the Phoenix Suns.
The Philadelphia 76ers are my pick.
As the playoffs grow closer, only time will tell who's going to win it all. Seth, over to you.
Spring is the best time of the year for sports fans. We get the 3 weeks of March Madness, baseball opening day, NHL and NBA playoffs, and the NFL draft all within 2 months of each other. And right in the middle of it all is a tradition unlike any other, the Masters. Last year, Scottie Scheffler took home the green jacket and was a model of consistency throughout the weekend. Fan favorite Rory McIlroy finishing a career-best second place, 3 shots back after putting in a blistering score of 64 on Sunday, just one off the course record. This year's Masters will be slightly more difficult than 2022, with the last leg of Amen Corner, hole 13, being extended by 35 yards, making the easiest hole on the course just a little bit harder. As far as predictions go, it is the Masters, so it truly is anyone's game, but here are 3 golfers to keep an eye on, including my pick to win it all. Firstly, there's Collin Morikawa. The 26-year-old world number 12 put in a 5-under final round last year to sneak his way into the top 5. The young gun is without a win this season, but finished tied for 13th at the Players. Most importantly, he has the second best driving accuracy on tour at just over 70%. Staying out of the pine straw is crucial to gaining a Masters victory, and he can do just that. Second is world number 3 and FedEx Cup leader Jon Rahm. Rahm is the hottest golfer on tour right now with 3 wins under his belt and 6 top 10 finishes in 8 completed tournaments. Rahm is looking for his first top 5 finish at the Masters since he placed 4th in 2018 and is in great position for his first win at Augusta. Lastly, the man from Hollywood, the world number 2 and my pick to win the Masters, Rory McIlroy. It looked like McIlroy was going to pull off one of the greatest comebacks in the history of the sport at last year's tournament, but a bogey on 13 followed by just 1 birdie in the final 5 holes saw McIlroy fall short. But this year is the year he finally does it. McIlroy has had an up and down start to the season, winning his first event, then finishing outside the top 25 in 3 of his next 4, including a second-place finish at the Arnold Palmer, and then missing the cut at the Players just a week later. McIlroy will be entering the Masters hungry, and the tour's longest hitter will finally achieve the coveted career Grand Slam in 2023. Allison and Haley, back to you.
Thanks, Seth. That's all we have for this episode of Offsides. If you're interested in joining our team, please email us at offsides@butv10.com.
Also, be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Offsides10.
On behalf of our entire cast and crew, thanks for watching and have a great night.